It's 1944, and Republic Aircraft in Farmingdale, New York, is rolling out one brand new P-47 Thunderbolt every hour. The P-47 proves to be a formidable weapon and a key element in ending World War II. Following the war, Republic enters the jet age with the F-84 Thunderjet and the F-105 Thunderchief. Republic's last aircraft, the A-10 Thunderbolt, is expected to remain in service until 2028. The history of the Thunder Factory and its aircraft are closely tied to the history of American airpower. The 9,000 P-47 Thunderbolts that took to the skies over Long Island found their way into every theater of operation during World War II, where it quickly earned the respect of its pilots. On May 24, 2000, the American Airpower Museum began its operation in a former Republic aircraft hangar. That day, the museum's P-47 arrived, bringing history full circle. A tour of the American Airpower Museum will transport visitors back to a time in our history when America and its allies were united in an all-out battle against tyranny. You will relive the experience of fighter and bomber crews as they prepared for missions over Nazi-occupied Europe. Check out high-altitude flight gear in the Ready Room. The target of the day is revealed on the mission map in our briefing room. Before we had the internet, before we had television, Americans received their war news from newspapers, radio, and movie newsreels. The museum's collection of front pages provides a snapshot of daily life in a large American city during the war. In our corner living room, a radio broadcasts news of the D-Day invasion. A blue service star on the window proudly announces that the household has one family member in the service. This family has just learned from a Western Union telegram that their loved one has become a prisoner of war. During World War II, over 41,000 members of the U.S. Army Air Forces were shot down during aerial combat over hostile territory and spent the remainder of the war in prison camps in Europe and Asia. The American Airpower Museum's POW exhibit depicts life in a German Luftstadt. Back at Republic Airport, newly minted P-47s are flown to Port Newark for shipment to airfields overseas by women Air Force service pilots. The American Airpower Museum's WASP exhibit pays tribute to these unsung heroines who ferried virtually every type of aircraft in the U.S. inventory, freeing up male pilots for combat. Thousands of other women put on overalls and WOW bandanas and went to work in defense plants around the country. Our Rosie the Riveter can be seen working on a P-47 engine, then at home preparing a meal for her son while her husband is overseas. A B-24 takes off with 24 other planes from an airfield in North Africa on April 4, 1943 to bomb the port of Naples, Italy. The Lady Be Good was the only plane that failed to return to the airbase in Libya after the completion of the mission. For 15 years, the fate of the Lady Be Good and its crew of 9 remained a mystery. In 1958, the wreckage of the B-24 was discovered by a British oil exploration team 440 miles south of the airbase. The following year, 8 of the 9 crew members' remains were recovered by a U.S. Army Graves and Registration team. The artifacts in the museum's Lady Be Good exhibit were donated by Sue Ann Hatton, niece of William J. Hatton, pilot of the Lady Be Good. Thousands of pilots earned their wings during World War II. They began their training in basic trainers such as the Waco UPF-7 biplane. Complex aerobatics and combat maneuvers were practiced in the AT-6 Advanced Trainer. Experience gained in these aircraft prepared pilots for fighter aircraft such as the P-47, P-40, and P-51. One group of pilots who honed their skills on the AT-6s was the Tuskegee Airmen. Beginning in 1941, the Tuskegee Army Airfield in Tuskegee, Alabama, became the training field for African American pilots, mechanics, armament specialists, radio technicians, and other aviation specialists. The general opinion at the time was that men of color did not possess the intelligence or skills to operate equipment as complex as an airplane. While battling racism and segregation at home, these dedicated African American pilots proved that they were more than capable of flying high-performance aircraft into combat. During the twilight hours of June 5, 1944, thousands of Allied airborne troops boarded hundreds of gliders and C-47 transports destined for the Normandy coast of France. Operation Overlord was about to begin. The morning of June 6 was selected as the time of debarkation, or D-Day. The American Airpower Museum honors these men who jumped into harm's way in the dark of night to land behind enemy lines with several exhibits such as the airborne exhibit. The museum's flying C-47 is itself a D-Day veteran. A flight program designed to recreate the D-Day experience is available to the general public. Details are available in the museum's cockpit gift shop. Our Moment of History exhibit recreates historic events in Europe and the Pacific during World War II with highly detailed dioramas. Throughout the museum you will find a fascinating collection of world-class dioramas and models. In our Republic Aviation exhibit, our skilled artists have recreated the Thunder Factory as it was during World War II in painstaking detail. The museum has an extensive collection of aircraft power plants, from radial piston engines to modern jet engines. Step into the jet age and view our A-10 Warthog and Russian MiG-21 cockpits. Children may handle actual flight controls inside our hands-on C-45 and helicopter cockpits. View airport operations from atop a restored World War II-era control tower. The deactivated 5-story tower was, at one time, the main control tower for Republic aircraft. Not all the vehicles of the American Airpower Museum fly. You will find a diverse collection of military vehicles, such as this British Ferret, an armored car with a .30 caliber machine gun mount. The museum's motor pool contains an assortment of vintage military cars, trucks, fire engines, and more. The American Airpower Museum is the fulfillment of Jeffrey Kleinman's dream to create a living and flying memorial to the sacrifices made by those on the battlefields and those who remained behind at home and supported the war effort. Since May of 2000, visitors from all over the United States and around the world have thrilled to the sound of 2,000 horsepower engines as these magnificent aircraft roar down the runways and climb into the skies over Long Island. Following September 11, 2001, our mission and our resolve has grown along with our collection of aircraft. There is a new sense of urgency to remind ourselves and to educate future generations of Americans about the deeds and sacrifices of the greatest generation. That the cost of liberty and democracy does not come without a price tag. This museum is dedicated to all men and women in uniform who saw service in World War I, World War II, Korea, the Cold War, Vietnam, and the Middle East, and defense workers, past and present.